Welcome back to the Deep Dive, where we take your stack of sources and cut through the noise to deliver the essential insights.
And today, we're diving deep into a subject that, well, most people think is about spreadsheets and numbers.
But our research shows it's really about feelings. We're talking about the psychology of money. For years, the whole narrative around financial success has been about formulas and optimization and IQ.
Right, how smart you are.
But the sources we're looking at today, they argue something completely counterintuitive. The core premise we're unpacking is that doing well with money has, well, almost nothing to do with how smart you are.
Or how well you did in your finance class.
Exactly. It has almost everything to do with how you behave, your temperament, your patience, your ego.
Okay, let's unpack this. We're setting the math aside and really focusing on the soft skills of wealth.
Because the stories we found just demonstrate so clearly that knowing what to do is a world away from actually doing it.
Over 50 years, yeah. And that's really the central conflict, isn't it? This huge disconnect between raw intelligence and the actual financial outcome. You can be a genius, someone who truly understands complex markets. But if you lose control of your emotions in a panic or a boom,
You're a disaster.
an instant financial disaster. But then conversely, we see these stories of just, ordinary folks.
Yeah.
And with nothing more than patience and consistency, they can build incredible wealth.
Yeah.
Financial success is a soft skill, not a hard science.
And the stories that show this gap are they're stunning. Our sources kick off with a real cautionary tale.
Oh, yeah.
A technology executive in LA, and this guy was a certified genius.
He designed and patented a key Wi-Fi component in his 20s.
Right, so he had the IQ, the drive, the opportunity, everything.
But his financial life was described as this mix of deep insecurity and just lavish bravado.
I mean, can you imagine carrying around a stack of $100 bills, inches thick, just so everyone knows who you are?
It's pure performance.
Yeah.
Bragging loudly, always seeking that validation.
And the story gets even crazier. There was this one afternoon where he bought a bunch of $1,000 gold coins.
Oh.
And he and his friends went down to the ocean, not to invest them,
Don't tell me.
to throw them, skipping them like rocks, just to see whose went the furthest.
$1,000 a pop.
It's a public performance of contempt for money.
Exactly. And the sources capture this one final moment. He's in a hotel restaurant, shatters a $500 lamp.
Okay.
Instead of just paying for it, he pulls out what they call a brick of cash, throws $5,000 at the manager and screams, "Get out of my face."
Wow.
And a few years later, the genius went broke. 180 IQ, but zero emotional intelligence with his money.
So if he's the cautionary tale, who's the counterpoint? Who's the hero of this story?
That would have to be Ronald James Reed, the American philanthropist who died in 2014.
His obituary went viral, didn't it?
It did. Because he was a janitor, a gas station attendant from rural Vermont.
Yeah.
His life was, by all accounts, completely unremarkable.
He fixed cars for 25 years, swept floors at JCPenney for 17.
Lived in a little two-bedroom house he bought for 12 grand.
Lived there his whole life. Drove an old Toyota.
And yet, when he died at 92, his net worth was over $8 million.
$8 million.
Which puts him in, like, the top fraction of a percent of all Americans. And it wasn't an inheritance, it wasn't the lottery.
So what was the secret?
It was so boring, it's revolutionary. He saved what he could, invested in reliable blue-chip stocks, and just waited.
He let compounding do its work. For decades.
For half a century, without interruption. Time and patience did all the heavy lifting.
And that patience, it's everything, isn't it? The power of compounding is just astronomical.
It's exponential. If he'd panicked in a downturn, or, retired 5 years early and pulled out his capital,
The fortune would have been a fraction of what it was.
a tiny fraction.
Yeah.
The sources say the bulk of that $8 million was generated in just the final decade of his life.
Wow.
He understood that stability was a better reward than any quick thrill.
And to really drive this home, the sources contrast Reed with another guy, Richard Fiscone.
Oh, this is the perfect comparison. Fiscone had the pedigree. Harvard-educated, Merrill Lynch executive.
He retired early to become a philanthropist, just like Ronald Reed.
But Fiscone lived this life of huge, visible wealth. He borrowed heavily to keep up an 18,000 square foot home.
With 11 bathrooms and 2 pools.
And it cost him over $90,000 a month just to maintain.
That's insane.
He thought his intelligence, his education, it made him immune to risk.
And then 2008 happened.
The financial crisis hit, and all that debt just crushed him. He filed for bankruptcy, his mansion was sold in a foreclosure auction.
And get this, it happened just 5 months before Ronald Reed, the janitor, died a multimillionaire.
What's fascinating here is how unique this is to finance. I mean, think about it. Can you name any other field where someone with no training can just massively outperform an expert with the best education?
You'd never see a janitor perform better heart surgery than a Harvard surgeon.
Never. But in investing, the ability to just wait, that psychological resilience, it can completely eclipse a huge gap in knowledge.
It really proves that it's a soft skill. It's patience versus greed, and those incredible differences. I mean, patience winning over pedigree. It forces you to confront something really important.
That you can't really judge.
You can't. Which leads us to this next idea, that no one's crazy. We look at the guy skipping gold coins or Giscone borrowing himself into ruin, and we think, that's just irrational.
But what seems crazy to you makes perfect sense to the person doing it.
Because their decisions are anchored to their own unique life history.
This is probably the biggest takeaway from our sources. We all think there's this one universal rationality.
Oh.
But people from different generations, different backgrounds, they learn totally different lessons about money.
Right.
I mean, your personal experience with the economy, it's maybe, what, 0.00001% of what's ever happened?
Tiny sliver.
But it makes up 80% of how you think the world works. It's an immovable anchor.
That's the ultimate bias, right? If you grew up with high inflation, you'll always distrust cash. If you lived through a bear market as a kid, you'll always be skeptical of stocks.
Exactly. And this was researched by economists Ulrich Melmandier and Stefan Nagel. They found that our willingness to take risks is basically set by the market returns we saw in our teens and 20s.
And the data they found is just staggering.
It is.
If you were born in 1970, the S&P 500 went up almost 10 times, adjusted for inflation, during your formative years.
So you learn a powerful lesson. Stocks are wealth machines. Downturns are just buying opportunities.
But now, imagine you were born just 20 years earlier, in 1950. For your teens and 20s, the market went literally nowhere. 2 decades of stagnation.
So you have two groups of equally smart people, right? Separated only by the dumb luck of when they were born.
And they have completely opposite core beliefs about how investing works.
And neither one is crazy. Their worldviews are just incompatible.
That's wild. I was born in the late 80s, so my whole life has been like massive tech growth and low interest rates.
Yeah.
I have to actively remind myself that, real estate doesn't always go up, or that prices can actually jump. That's my anchor right there.
And it anchors your perspective on other people's choices. Take the lottery paradox.
Okay.
Low-income households spend, on average, $412 a year on lottery tickets. That's 4 times more than the highest earners.
And that's the same group where, 40% of people can't come up with $400 for an emergency? So on the surface, it seems totally irresponsible.
But if you look at the psychology, the calculation is different. For someone who feels like saving $400 won't really change their life.
And that the good life is just mathematically out of reach.
The lottery ticket is the only time they can hold a tangible dream in their hands. They're not paying for the odds.
Yeah.
They're paying for the hope.
They're buying the temporary belief that their life could be different.
Exactly. Every decision checks a box for that person in that moment.
Yeah.
And you can't judge it against the calculus of someone who already takes wealth for granted.
Okay, so if patience is the master skill and our personal history is the biggest driver of our behavior, we have to add one last piece of context.
Which is that this whole game, personal finance, investing, it's all shockingly new.
We act like this is some timeless concept, but we are all newbies.
We really are. Before World War II, most Americans just worked until they died.
Right. The idea of a 30-year financially independent retirement was for, the super rich. The labor force participation for men over 65 was over 50% until the 1940s.
And when Social Security started, the benefits were tiny. It was a supplement, not a full replacement. Ida Mae Fuller's first check in 1940 was, $22?
So the idea that you, the individual, have to save and invest for your own retirement, that's barely a generation old.
It's a huge shift in risk. For decades, companies had pensions, right? The defined benefit system.
The company carried all the investment risk.
And then came the shift to defined contribution, the 401k. That wasn't even invented until 1978.
And the Roth IRA, that came in 1998. It's barely old enough to drink.
So we took a system that was professionally managed and just handed all that responsibility for risk management and everything else to every single employee.
Just think about that. We are expected to manage these complex financial instruments. I mean, index funds are less than 50 years old and plan for a 30-year retirement using tools our own parents probably didn't even have when they started working.
The lack of generational experience, it creates so much anxiety. It explains so much of the so-called irrational behavior. We're all learning this in real time, under pressure.
So if we connect this to the bigger picture, the real issue is that we treat money too much like physics.
We're always looking for these fixed rules and perfect formulas.
And we don't think about it enough like psychology, acknowledging that our outcomes are guided by emotion and personal history.
And the fact that we're all playing a really new game with really new tools, it's no surprise we struggle to do what the math says we're supposed to do.
What a compelling set of sources. The message today is just so clear. Financial success is an emotional marathon, not an intellectual sprint.
It really is.
The key lessons are patience, recognizing the just astronomical power of compounding, and understanding that what looks crazy in other people
Almost always comes from an experience you haven't had.
Right.
And that historical context just proves Voltaire's old line, history never repeats itself, man always does. We keep bringing the same old human emotions, greed, fear, insecurity, to brand new financial tools.
From the 401k to crypto.
Exactly. And this raises an important question for you, the listener, to really think about.
Okay.
We look back at past generations and we judge their financial mistakes, right? Maybe their failure to save or how they handled consumer debt when it was new. But given how fast financial norms are changing today, the normalization of huge college debt, the pressure to buy wildly expensive homes, what behaviors that seem totally rational to us right now will future generations look back on and find completely baffling?
We'll let you chew on that thought. Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you next time.